Right now the map started, the first match between Ciara and Mana, the round of 32 at the Copenhagen Games, the Razor Domination Tournament. We have the first map between those two players, and Mana is starting as the red Plotus player at the bottom of the map at the 6 o'clock start position. We can see Ciara cross position, spawning to him at the 12 o'clock start position as the blue Zerg. And I expect a really nice matchup between those two players. The admins thankfully asked me yesterday which games I want to stream from the round of 32, and Lelouch versus Jimpo already was a very, very nice match. I hope to see 3 games on in this best of 3 as well. And Mana has a little bit of a problem against Zerg. Can you tell us why? You've been a Mousesports manager. You ought to know, why isn't he? He's improving. He's training a lot in PvZ.
He is.
But what is his major problem in the matchup?
Well, the major problem in this matchup is, I think it's actually confidence. I don't think it's about him being bad. I don't know the build orders. It's all about confidence, and when you're confident in a matchup, it's very hard for you to go into a game, and it's very hard for you to feel confident to go out on the map and keep map control and making sure that everything doesn't go out of control and everything. So that's, I think, is the major problem. But we are seeing Mana improving a lot in PvC lately. And also he has a PvC tomorrow against Senior in the NASL, which I believe is going to be some very good matches as well.
I can actually tell the matches are amazing. I casted them.
Okay.
And they are really, really good. You should definitely watch them. And you will be in for some surprises, I reckon. That it wasn't the matches and the gaming style that you usually expect in a PvZ.
That's very nice. So what we're seeing right now is that Ciara is just making his pool, no gas yet, so he's probably going to offer like a very fast expansion here around 16, 17 supply. And for Mana, we've seen the gateway go down at
probably the 3-gate expansion.
Yeah, for Mana, I expect a 3-gate expansion. Maybe we're going to see some Stargate play to slap some walls and some queens, like to get ahead. I always think that's a good way to, if you're a bit unconfident in the matchup, like utilize some of these very early air aggressions against a Zerg who obviously doesn't have a lot of air defense early on besides queens. So
what do you think about Mana as a player in general? I mean, Mousesports has been focusing on acquiring a lot of young players. You had the Mousesports talent, where you just got Lomo and Sick joining your team.
Absolutely.
And you have Mana as well. He's already an accomplished player, but he's already also only 17 years old.
17 years old.
So what's your take on him, and what do you predict for him as a player in the future for his development?
I think that even though Mana is very young, that means that he has a bright future for him, especially when he's that good already. But Mana has been around for a long time. He played Brood War. He played like ever since he was 9 or 10 years old. So I think he already has what it takes, and he's already a lot more mature than other people because he played the game for such a long time. If Mana keeps practicing like he does, and if he keeps like have the same motivation, he's definitely going to be as good as he was in Brood War, even better, playing really good. About the Mousesports thing, about people being acquired at a really young age, we see that our team basically consists of the people we also had in Brood War, not Mousesports, but they acquired the whole ESC team with Strelok, Wydra, and Mana back then. Wydra obviously left for Dockload like a half year ago, so that's about it. And but I believe I think Mana has a very good future ahead of him.
Right now we see Ciara just hovering with an Overlord or the expansion, while at the main base of his opponent he already has a Ling in place as well, just trying to scout what Mana is actually up to. And the Protoss player already is warping into additional gateways. He has both assimilators already, so right now he's going for the 3-gate expansion. He has 2 sentries so far, and as soon as his warp gate upgrade is done, we can expect 3 additional sentries being warped in. In the meantime, we have Mana still scouting with 1 probe, trying to evade those Zerglings. The probe will die eventually, which happens exactly about now, and the pool already features the metabolic boost. We have Ciara with 2 queens, which is little bit weird to me, as we've been talking about queens, about creep spread, and Ciara is one of the Zerg players that has a strong opinion that you definitely should get an additional queen in order to spread the creep. That's like, oh, and there comes the 3rd queen, so just in time, perfect timing. Thanks a lot for that, Ciara. Makes me look really, really good. We have hallucination being researched. And this is due to the problem that Protoss has, that a lot of races have scouting in after roughly the 7th, 8th minute mark, scouting your opponent. And one of the ways that Protoss try to make sure that they don't overwhelmed by Mutalisk, for example, or by any sneak play from the Zerg player, is just getting the sentry in order to get a hallucination of a Phoenix, because well, observers just would be way too late with the first expansion and the 3-gate stuff.
I absolutely agree, and a build we've been seeing a lot is the 6-gate, 2-base 6-gate from the Protoss. Mana is throwing down his 4-gate, 4th gate here, and so there's still a possibility to go for the 6-gate all-in push, which is very hard to hold against the Zerg. I think that's the best strong push that they have. But really exciting is that Ciara is going for a Hydrogen before he gets his Roach Warren. And he also has Ling speed, so maybe we're going to see a Ling Hydra army. That's a bit unusual. What do you think of that?
I actually quite like it, and the thing is, being a Zerg player myself, I talk to a lot of Zerg players, and basically they agree that you can't play Hydralisks without anything in front of them.
We're seeing Ciara moving in with a lot of speedlings into his base.
Nice swap in, very well done by Mana, just closing the gap. But there is Ciara now attacking his opponent with a lot of Zerglings, putting some early pressure on his opponent. At the same time, we have Mana moving towards the 3rd base of Ciara, taking out that hatchery. Ciara will have to cancel it, but there are the force fields trapping the Queen. Very well done. Mana with some beautiful force fields. I've seen him in a lot of games lately, and he has been placing a lot of fail fields. But what is that? How did those Lings get into the base? I thought he had closed the wall in with a Zealot. Did you actually see that? What happened?
I didn't see. I think he moved down with the Zealots, like trying to take down the... take down all the Lings, because you have like 6 Zealots in the space.
And once again, the curse of Zerg.
Yeah. The retard magnet.
The retard magnet. Right here, yeah. You saw it first.
But I'm very glad that Ciara chooses to do this, because obviously he doesn't have enough units to fight against the Protoss, who denied the 3rd base of the Zerg here. Because if he has so many sentries and so many force fields, I really agree with this counter-attack instead of doing some damage to him, instead of trying to take down this army and also lose the 3rd base. So really well done by Ciara. He's setting up to go into late game.
And the hero Hydralisk, and it dies. Well, at least it tried.
It tried.
The other thing is, one of the main problems of Zerg, as you already mentioned, is trying to put some pressure on the Protoss player, and we've been seeing a lot of Zerg players not only going for the initial 6 or 8 Zerglings, but getting 12 up to 16 Zerglings and just trying to delay the expansion and harass the economy of the opponent. Ciara played that very, very well. Mana with some slight problems, and I think it was a huge blunder that he let those Zerglings in his main base. He was actually defending very well, just pulling off all those probes into the main base, warping in that Zealot to close the gap. But with our whole position, he apparently was able for Ciara to sneak in with his units, and this was a huge mistake by Mana. He tried to attack with his own army, which was quite nice. Ciara had to cancel his 3rd base. And coming back to your question about the Hydralisks and the Zerglings, it's actually a combination that you can play as long as there aren't any Colossi out on the field for the Protoss player. And it's very, very hard. You have all those Lings that only cost you minerals, and the only thing that you really, really need is something to block your Hydralisks. The Hydralisks deal all the damage, and it doesn't matter if the Zerglings die or not. Of course, we have been used to see the Roach Hydra combination, which is much more gas. Well, it costs you much more gas than the Lings, but it's actually a nice combination. But I don't think that Ciara will apply it now, as we have the first Colossi out for Mana. He will probably try to mix it up a little bit. Now building the Roach Warren, because he knows that Zerglings just won't cut it against the Colossi, and we have the first 6 Mutalisks for Ciara, and he's in a very good position right now, and Mana basically, he has to defend. He's in a defensive position, and he can't be happy with that.
And I think the Mutalisk is such a good choice against Mana, because Ciara knows exactly what is happening. He saw the army of Mana, he did a lot of damage, and he's building the Colossi right now after being damage being dealt, and Stalkers are so mineral and gas heavy. It's a really expensive unit, so he knows that Mana doesn't have a lot of anti-air, so he can do a lot of harass in the base of Mana, and he also knows there is no cannons around yet. So he'll be very good with these Mutalisks, and they're flying over the Stalkers and taking a lot of damage. That is not very good micro, but he's now taking out a few probes, but Mana is reinforcing the 3 Stalkers. Like, he has 9 Stalkers right now. He definitely needs Blink if Ciara is going to keep up with this and making more Mutalisks. But we'll have to see what's going to happen here. A little damage done by Ciara while he's taking his 4th base. but not a lot. Not a lot.
He's still way ahead. He has 50 additional supplies on 166 against 113. And now, as Bumblebee already mentioned, Blink is being researched for the Protoss play in order to deal with that Mutalisk harass. Ciara once again trying to keep his opponent on his toes. And now Mana even building a summer cannons, being forced to get some stationary defense buildings. We of course also have the +1 attack upgrade for the Protoss player. And as you can see, the army supply of 75 against a 103, and 80 supply of drones for Ciara, which is a lot. And he should probably not produce any additional workers, as 80 is about the number that you want to have if you are playing that kind of style that Ciara is currently employing. He's still harassing with those Mutalisks, and he's doing an awesome job at doing so. And in the meantime, we have Mana moving out of his base, now moving towards the expansions of his opponent. But still, those Mutalisks are just attacking the economy. Mana has swapped in some additional Stalkers, tries to deal with the Mutalisks, and now comes the big push by Mana. He's trying to kill his opponent right there. He knows that he's in a lot of trouble. He has to push out, take the initiative.
He has to move his Colossi back, so it's really bad micro, and he's losing the one Colossi.
And the second
one is almost going down. Really went on by Ciara, even though the force fields were really, really good. But we have to see here, like, I definitely think Ciara is coming out on top here, and Mana has to retreat back now. Too many Hydras and Roaches running after his Stalkers here, and Mana is almost all in with this. He didn't make a third base yet, and he doesn't have a lot of probes. He only has 40 probes. That is also coming back to the harass that Ciara has done with both the Circlings and the Mutalisk. He's really using his mobility on the map to take down the economy of Mana and make sure that if he moves out, he's gonna pay for it. It's really, really well played by Ciara so far. And right now we have 17 Stalkers from Mana out, while we see 11 Hydras, 23 Roaches, 7 Corruptors, 3 Queens, and 2 Circlings out for Ciara. Ciara is so far ahead with his 4th base up and running, and the 1 gas has been taken, and I just don't... It's going to be really hard for Mana from here. He needs to get an additional base and some Colossi out. Now he's making an Immortal. I don't know if I like that. He sure has a lot of Roaches, but there's still Hydras in the mix, and Hydras do really, really well against Immortals.
And he's going for a second robotics facility. I don't think he can afford that with 2 bases and that little amount of probes. Now Ciara just moving in. He's 100 supply ahead, and Mana will lose that game.
And the Colossi is just idling there. Now it's starting auto-attacking.
There is no way for Mana to take that match. He lost the advantage way too early due to the beautiful harass of Ciara being able to sneak in Zerglings into the main base of his opponent. And Mana lost it right then. So the first map goes to the Zerg player. Mana just trying to defend a little bit, but Ciara also playing it beautifully. He waiting for the 4th base, takes the game, he comes to GG, and we will see the second game in, well, being hosted any second. So Mana really has to try to, top of his game just a little bit if he wants to keep up with Ciara playing on such a high level. And we're seeing Shakur's Plateau being the second map in this best of 3 Mana against Ciara. Mana lost Metalopolis due to a beautiful attack of Ciara early on, able to kill a lot of probes of his opponent and damaging the economy of the Protoss player quite a lot. And yeah, Bumblebee, talking about the maps, talking about Shakur's Plateau of Metalopolis, what's your take in this matchup? Will we see a different play by Mana right now? He has an easier time of defending the expansion with those Rams, so I think we can certainly expect him going for an expansion once again.
I definitely think so. As we see, Mana is moving down to make the pylon down at his choke, which is natural. I think we're going to see some Forge first play here. And about the maps, yeah, I really like the change that made to Shakur's Plateau with no backdoor rocks, which by no means, I'm sorry, Blizzard, but it's retarded to have such a short pathway that is so narrow against both a Protoss and a Terran player. So it's a really good change here. I definitely think we're going to see Colossi from Mana again. I think it's really good on this map because there's like only one way to your opponent's base, and you gotta get through there. And it's sort of narrow in the middle. So if you can get a good fight in the middle and defend this huge macro map with a lot of bases on each side, he'll be set up in a very, very good position.